Skål!
As a child, I saw the mountains from the kitchen window, peaks standing silently in the distance. The high peaks had called to me always, enchanted my mind, created adventure and shaped the future. As a lad, I was fascinated by how something could be so big, so silent and so mysterious. I had to go there, had to see beyond the mountain tops, follow the streams and disappear in among the mists. I made it, and I'd never regretted it. I don't know, why do I always get these tangles? My old friend Palle and I are in Tjuonajokk in the Kaitum Valley. Summer's just revealing itself, and the entire adventure is in front of us. I just feel that life is one big party.
I thought I'd got everything together here. Here's my tobacco.
If I lose anything, then I never find it again. I've lost count of the times I've walked along the wooden pathway to the fishing camp. Palle worked at the camp for many years as a fishing guide, so we felt at home right away. Our steps were light as we wandered down to the moorings that morning. With newly loaded fly rods, nothing can stop us. The snow's really bright.
Det här blir jättefint, tror du.
This'll do just fine. It can stay like that.
Yeah, I think so too.
We decide straight away to look for the rushing, bubbling mouth of the stream. Experience tells us that trout have a tendency to lie there early in the season, when the water level's high and oxygen rich. When the characteristic globe flowers are in bloom, we know we've timed it right. This is the most pleasant time to meet summer in the mountains, favoured by comfort, well-being and total relaxation. Even though I've spent long periods of my fishing life in the mountains, the feelings surge back. This is where I'm meant to be, where the soul can dance in freedom. I feel safe among the mountains, moved by the rushing water and captivated by the silence, the grandeur and the boundlessness. I find calm near distant water. Here, where the fish flourish, I nurture my dreams of the good life. Even though the surroundings are fantastic and the fly fishing's marvellous, my enjoyment isn't complete unless I've got a friend with me. Palle and I have been fishing together for years, and we know each other like brothers. The wordless communication is always present, a guarantee for friendship, confidence and trust. The air almost stands still when Palle pulls the first fish of the season from this familiar stream.
Oi.
The feeling of togetherness is always there. I'm just as happy to see a friend's bent rod as I would be if I was in the same delightful situation. I savour the present, the short but intensive moments of total happiness. Forceps are an important tool for the fly fisherman. as the intention is always to release the fish. This is a friendly gesture to the fish and an important step for long-term conservancy. And now at last we've reached the mouth of the stream, an area which often provides thrilling fights with, hopefully, larger trout.
Got it.
What have you caught?
I think it's a grayling.
Protected by the mighty mountains to the west, my companion hooks a larger fish, possibly a trout, but more likely a grayling. This is life at its most glorious. Seems strong.
Damn strong.
I've only just fished here.
Now there's a fine one. Hello now, come back.
Even though there are some beautiful and aggressive trout, our grayling's special. A shy lady from times gone by, a messenger of mystery, showing us the way to the hidden horizons of the future. We have a lovely day at the foot of the mountain, a glittering show of dreams and reality. A little later that same afternoon, we take the boat and start looking for new and exciting streams. After a while, we reach the mouth of an interesting stream that runs out into the Kaitum River. We think we're the first to visit this place this season, and we sense the seductive fragrance of trout from a distance.
Got it.
Palle is on top form, and at the end of the day, he is the rightful king of the trout. Is it a grayling?
I think so. No, it isn't. It's a lovely trout.
Did you say a trout?
$53
Choosing a fly is always interesting. Should I stick to tried and tested, or go for something new? What's floating on the surface? Even though I can't see many mayflies, I choose a size 12 light blue Klinghormer. Yes, it's entomologically incorrect, but I know that grayling love it. I only need a few casts with this light blue creation before a larger grayling is hooked. She's lying right at the edge of the swifter stream, a spot where over the years I've taken a few better trout. Right from the start, I can feel the typical grayling jerks through the rod. It feels pleasantly heavy, a genuine fish from the typical rushing waters of Lapland. As we all know, the grayling has a lot of personal peculiarities. She's naturally beautiful, unusually elegant, but also sinfully secretive. while at the same time having an exceptional talent for using her powerful body. This is why it's always an advantage if you can get the fish to flatten out towards the end, which can be achieved by lifting the fish's head just above the surface of the water. A net isn't always necessary when fishing for grayling. It's a lovely feeling to be able to once again steer the boat towards the magical silent mountains in the west. The sound of the engine lets me drift into other worlds where the dream of a giant grayling almost becomes reality. It's going to be a good day today.
Looks like it.
The mountains show the drama that once upon a time was performed here as the mighty glacial river thundered along under the fast-melting inland ice. Suddenly, we find ourselves in a very old country, in a misty dream, created in days gone by under the light of the Milky Way. New times created, new opportunities presented.
Just let it drift in there. Perfect.
Let's see if there are fish there. I was thinking of using a strike indicator to see if there are any fish in the rapids or not.
There might be some char. There's the classic big boulder.
And there's the classic fireplace.
They're splashing around up there. Did you see where?
No.
This is perfect. Did you see the gulls?
Aha! There's a hatch. Just look how they're racing over the water.
We just have to fish. Where are you going?
I thought I'd go up there and try the strike indicator.
Yes, Palle's classic streams. I'm going further up to Jokk's pool. See you later.
We've really looked forward to getting acquainted with these waters again. It's a magical moment. The roar of the falls, the clear air, the singing of the birds, even the buzzing of the mosquitoes. We've missed them all during the cold days of winter. But at last we're back, and nothing can stop us now. This time not even the choice of fly is a problem. We know what grayling like. We're confident. Feelings of expectation are just under the skin. My head's almost cooking with positive emotions. A wind rushes over mountain and plain. We're on our way through spheres of adventure. Our desire to behold a birthplace, a source of delight and quiet inspiration. Just getting things organised is a large part of fly fishing, a normal occupation for us fly fishermen. Many years ago, when I first started fly fishing, the impregnation agent was called Tuffy and came in an aerosol can. I seem to remember using 8 or 10 cans a year, which was just pure pollution. But sometimes I used butter or margarine, just as long as the flies floated.
I'm right behind you.
Hiya.
You've caught a big Palle.
He came loose. Hi, Palle.
Hi.
I hooked you too. What a big one.
Your fly is as big as a strike indicator.
Ja,
A yellow one, a clink hammer.
klinkhammer. De stod ganska långt ut. Och då, fin var det.
Sådär.
Hej på dig.
How's it going?
It's been a bit slow. There were fish near the bank and a bit further out,
Där, så. Men jag tror att det står även längre ut.
but they've been
Men de har varit
choosy
lite
about my
rena,
choice of
så
flies. There aren't many insects about.
I've done all right with my nymphs,
Ja, men det-
but it's not the same as usual.
That's with a strike indicator, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
ja, men det
Oh, but that
räknas
doesn't really
inte.
count.
I need to fix my leader.
Knyta om lite grann.
You're damn good at this. You found the right fly.
Ja,
All of a sudden. Things have been slow here, especially in the rapids, don't you think?
Yeah, you can get something on a nymph, but there don't seem to be a lot of fish about.
är det så?
Where you'd normally find 20 grayling in a pool, there's only 5, so you have to try the next spot.
Men jag tror att de är på
But I
väg.
think they're on the move.
Go in the right direction at least.
Ja,
I'm going up there to try the little hole.
ja.
Do you remember when we sat here a few years ago?
När
When
tog
Jocke
sitt
set his personal
personliga
record.
rekord.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's really a good pool.
These little devils were a bit fussy.
De rackarna.
Really?
Här ska vi se. Hade
Didn't we
lite
get char
röding
here
framme.
once?
Yeah, I've got a few char here.
Några rödingar har jag fått här faktiskt. Men jag har då inte... Det är inte någon...
But just there in the little shallows is where you can usually find some
Där brukar det
char.
gå och ställa sig röding.
Ja, men har
Haven't
inte
you
du
been
varit här
fishing here
som kommer
before
på
on the
andra
other
sidan?
bank?
Yes, on the edge of the current on the other side. You usually get char
Exactly.
with some really heavy nymphs.
Ja, det-
You're in good form. Did you lose it as well?
Yes, it was just sucking very carefully.
I think I'll try some indicator fishing 30 or 40 meters further up.
I might move down a bit.
Ta och gå ner lite grann.
But won't you carry on here? You've caught masses.
There might be too many people around.
2 men in 3 kilometers? That's not a lot.
För mycket.
One too many.
Well, I'm off.
Ja.
See you later.
All my life I've been fascinated by grayling. The fish is fun to take on a fly, and it eats insects all through its life. As it gets older, however, it becomes an omnivore, eating almost everything it's offered. But it never forgets the insects. Once I caught a grayling with 2 tiny pike in its stomach, and another time the stomach was full of cigarette ends. But the most enjoyable fishing is to take a grayling on a dry fly. That's just perfection.
How's the fishing been?
Det har varit...
A bit up and down. Fish in some places, but nothing in the midsections. There's usually a lot of fish in the rapids, but it's like you said earlier today. The fish seem to be on their way. They're not here during winter, but further down there are masses of fish. It'll be better in a few days. Not many insects either. A few stoneflies.
Did you catch anything?
Oh yes, oh yes.
There was a real hullabaloo up at Jukki's pool.
Yes, but there weren't many fish. They've been a little bit cautious. But I had a yellow clinkhammer which seemed to work. It's the closest you can get to a yellow mayfly, but I haven't seen any about.
Or a yellow caddis. I mean caddis with a little yellow body. A bit like an Åkeboden pupa.
But any variant of a clinkhammer works very well. Not perfect. And I saw a few stoneflies and some mayflies and a brown mayfly.
Brown mayflies?
Yeah, but there aren't many insects about. But there were masses of midges yesterday. How's your luck, Palle? You and your indicator fishing.
I made a few casts in the slower waters.
Men sen när jag puppmetade där uppe, då tyckte jag det var
When I fished up there, things were okay, but it felt like there were smaller groups in the lies.
Oh, what size were the fish?
Well, not really only, in fact. They were lovely fish, about 35 to 40 centimeters, and I got a few which measured about 45 centimeters. My line got stuck. I hooked one, played it, and lost it. I was just lifting the line when I got a new strike. A good-sized grayling.
We've had a wonderful day's fishing at the classic Char rapids on the upper reaches of the Kaitum River. A river still without a dam, the most virginal of them all. Nature and the countryside are, and must remain, a temple of delights, and shouldn't be selfishly exploited.
The water level in the Kaitum River is really good. You can see it's early summer. There's usually an overhang here when the ice has retreated and it's grown back up. The ice has eaten its way up the bank.
But the water level is still good for the time of year. The first fish are on their way.
Did you see the rising fish on the way here? Let's do like this. Wade out and try for the fish we saw. I'll sit on the bank and take a few photos.
Okay.
What tippet are you using?
A 5X, but I don't think the tippet's the problem.
Sometimes it is the tippet. Or you might try fishing downstream instead of upstream.
Yes, I was thinking of... Whoops! Right on the fish's head. I was thinking of trying something a bit more like an emerger.
There aren't many insects about. You might need something that gets you under the surface.
Yeah, I was thinking about it.
There's no sign of any heavy rises.
No, nothing.
No splashing at all. Further out there's some heavy rises, but not here. The fly doesn't always drift correctly when you cast upstream.
And you might get in a tangle as well. I've seen a few small caddis about.
Is that why you tied on a clink hammer?
I went down to a 6x tippet
Jaha, jag gick ner lite i
to see if it would change things here.
Påverka någonting.
A successful strategy for all grayling fishing, especially early in the season or when the water's high, is to cast into land. When the water's high, land insects get blown onto the water, so you fish mainly with sawfly imitations, narrow-waisted creations of all sorts of ants. While we're on the river, the first mayfly and caddis hatchings start. This is another important reason for casting into land, as the insects take some time to reach further out into the stream. One creation which always works in these conditions is different sizes and colours of Hans van Klinken's immortal Klinkhormer. Palle is in the habit of taking in the grayling as soon as possible, to avoid too great an accumulation of lactic acid, as this makes releasing the catch more difficult. This is why it's never a good idea to fish with too light a rod, as landing the catch takes too long.
"45, 46 centimeters.
It's always interesting to go through your fly boxes. Often you know what's there, even if you sometimes find the odd fly that for some reason has been forgotten. For me, one of these is the stonefly, and as I've seen a lot of these in the woods and on the water as well, it naturally felt right to choose a similar imitation. I don't fish with them very often, but I know that sometimes they can be very successful. You can find them as early as April or May, crawling up from the cracks in the ice or the jig fishing holes. It's a lovely insect, a real survivor in these northerly waters. I'd already seen that the mayfly and caddis had hatched, so I'm going for a tempting stonefly imitation. It always feels quite natural and good fun to try something new and exciting. As usual, I wade out into the stream and start casting straight away into land. What strikes me at once is how glorious it feels to be standing here again, in the as yet untouched waters of the Kaitum River, swinging my flies. It's just so irresistibly beautiful, and the fly fishing is absolutely excellent. It's not just a hobby, it's more a way of life. I'd find it difficult to ramble in the mountains without a fly rod, my essential tool, a lance opening the gates to adventure, temptation and freedom. As a fly fisherman, I have two different guises. In short, either a recluse or a sociable chap. Sometimes it's good fun to be able to exchange sneaking around in the undergrowth for a sociable fishing trip with a friend. Especially now, as the grayling are really on the go. We chat and laugh, get excited and make friendly, clever comments. When there are this many grayling about, it doesn't seem to disturb them much either. I've even seen an occasional grayling in the bubbling current behind the waders.
"47 centimeters. Fantastic. I've got a tangle between the leader and the line which gets caught in the rings. Very advantageous if it gets caught and you have to free it, and then it gets caught in the second and the third ring.
And quite suddenly, the grayling have gone mad in the stream. There's splashing and noise everywhere. The warmth spreads under our vests and nothing can stop us. Suddenly we're in another world, far from roads, exhaust fumes and stress. This untouched river offers an unmatched feast, and we're the only ones invited.
Did you notice that the fish are better fed in some parts of the river? In some places they're fat and in others thinner.
Now that's nice. I'll try and land it quickly.
This one's just under a kilo.
Mine's a bit smaller, I think.
Bye-bye.
Now hasn't this been a fantastic day? And I got my trout.
I never get trout, only grayling.
What do you mean, only?
Well, they were big grayling, my little darlings.
You got a really fine one down there, didn't you?
Okay, I got two nice ones actually. You got a good one as well.
At last, summer has come to the mountains. We've had a wonderful day on the water, a gift for which we are truly grateful. I've always felt myself drawn to the harsher areas of life, the mountains, magical pools, the silence, and the eternal blue horizons. For me, the outdoor life, fly fishing and comradeship are the finest and most important ingredients in the best sort of life.
A lot of snow on the eastern side. The wind has hit it really hard, but the fishing's good in winter if the wind is right.
I think a toast is called for.
In mountain water, of course.
Cheers.
Cheers. That was good. You can get another toast from me.
Just think that we can drink the water like this. Completely normal for us, of course.
Yes.
Just think how unfairly the water spread around the world. We drive our boats through the drinking water. We're sitting out here drinking. I remember about 25 years ago, I was here with some friends from Holland. They said I should be happy to have such fresh water. Whatever they drink in Holland has passed through 13 humans first.
They don't have much water. Yes, we just wallow in the cornucopia of life.
But now we'll have some of the water of life, as the Scots say.
Where's your cup?
A toast to Lapland, char, and the future.
This is getting exciting. Perhaps we should head for the trout lake. If we don't go that way, then perhaps we can go this way. It's another kilometer there. If we go there, then we can take the coffee and reindeer meat with us.
Okay, let's do that. Yes, they can be really aggressive. We had a couple near us on the Rostu River that almost flew into my face. They aren't scared of anything.
Look, There was a grouse on the bushes over there. It's a cock. He's got a lovely red head. Really beautiful.
I've always felt at home during these long walks in the mountains, no matter what the time or the conditions. The grandeur and the silence are my living room. The birch trees, mountains and lakes, the quite obvious furnishings.
This is a nice little lake.
I think we should... The wind always comes from the west here. I think we should go down there where there's less wind, where they usually rise for the caddis. And then we should be okay.
We take a trip to the Arctic char lakes just to try our luck. Even though we catch nothing, this day is just what we needed. Confirmation that everything is as usual. The mountains keeping watch over the countryside, grouse cocks calling on the slopes, and tranquility is all around.
Tänk dig de här bergen. Det är ett av världens mest nereroderade fjällkedjor.
I've come to understand that each day is as valuable as the next, whether we're fishing in the mountains or sitting in the dentist's chair. Keeping a diary is an important part of my life, a way of describing an existence, accepting my inner self and making each day extra special. This has been my lot since January 1963, and I haven't missed a single day. Soon I will have been making my entries for 50 years. A long time, some might say. Just one page for each day makes me realise that life is far too short and that too many waters will never be fished. As always, Palle is quick to get the food out. And as always, it's reindeer meat with all the normal trimmings. This is a tuck-in for starving fishermen.
There seem to be more mosquitoes around the lake than in the mountains.
Oh, yeah.
While evening slowly passes over to the stillness of night, we continue fishing in our home waters, a lake with a fine stock of char.
Here they are. Yeah, they're all around me.
Oh, wow.
What was that?
Did you see that?
I missed it.
A toast to the mountain,
The sun
the sun,
and the char.
and the char.
Okay, we're done. I usually sit, jump it.
Oh.
After a few days in the Char Mountains, we return to the river. The weather changes and suddenly there's rain in the air. But in spite of the changeable weather, it's not disturbingly cold, and the swarming mayflies have moved further out over the stream. We also see the first midges of the season, and realise that in a few days there's going to be a wild party down in the quieter waters. The first major hatching of midges is something you only dream about, when the resident graylings suddenly lose control, forget their own territory and become anarchists. It's then you see how the grayling just gobble the feast, lose respect for each other and just let themselves go in completely immoral gluttony. In those situations, I just think of the boundless generosity that nature sometimes shows, something to be grateful for. The water level is almost perfect, so I find my favourite spot straight away. A place where, over the years, I've caught some really splendid grayling and a few aggressive trout. The stone divides the stream into two really challenging passages. Food corridors, I usually call this feature, where you can always find hungry grayling. Trout usually park in the dead triangle in front of the stone, in the exact position where the river divides into two separate parts. I learnt this important strategic fact once upon a time in Rostu. Grayling and trout often have different territories around the same stone.
No. Oj. Vacker och titta.
A good way to approach a slow-moving tail is to fish it upstream, a method which calls for some quick moves. The problem that can arise is getting a slack line, naturally resulting in missing the counterstrike. Dry fly fishing for grayling is the ultimate experience, and the take is the climax of it all. When a larger grayling takes in a really rapid current, it's important not to keep the rod high, as the grayling has a special talent for fighting back. A broad back and large fins can get any fly fisherman to lose his leader. A low rod profile prevents the grayling from struggling too much. It's forced to leave the powerful current. This is an important strategy, as you want to land the fish as soon as possible, to prevent too much lactic acid building up. I've always been interested in photography. One of my fishing friends once said that the camera is the fly fisherman's most important tool.
Den sitter centrerat på skall.
Every day must come to an end, even though it's been enjoyable. We've had our fill of fishing for grayling, had a lot of good laughs and feel on top form.
Så. Så där ja.
We've trodden this path a few times. Do you see that patch of still water over there on the other side, with 3 or 4 rocks in it?
A lighter one furthest in, yeah.
Yeah, and about 15 metres right this way in the middle of the calmer waters. That was one hell of a rise.
I can see rises over there. You often see trout there.
That was a slow rise, and it ended in a splash. He came up and splashed with his tail on the way down. Look over there, Palle, by the stones near the bank. He's rising. And another one.
Yeah, down there.
But that big splash was just down there.
Time for coffee?
Absolutely, time for coffee.
I'm just going to try a bit of trout fishing.
But first, we must make the coffee.
Yeah, coffee first.
A perfect day's fishing always begins with coffee round the campfire, a bit of a chat and a gentle awakening. Most good stories have started life around the fire, stories that have then become tall tales with a life of their own. Personally, I couldn't be without the sooty coffee pot or the blazing fire.
I remember when Rolf Smedman was out sketching. He always had his coffee pot in his drawings. He'd always have one with a short bent spout and a fairly high lid with a little knob on it. This one's more modern, of course, but still a good design. And what about the char? Stubborn and very shy. They're coming close to the bank and are easy to spot.
Trout or the char?
Very special. The greater garbo of the mountains.
Beautiful fish, but really tricky.
Right, really tricky.
The river meets us with its broadest smile. The weather's gorgeous and the conditions are perfect. The air breathes warmth and the insects are in abundance. This should be an unforgettable day's fishing. As evening slowly becomes a clear night, the entire river explodes in an orgy of hatching and swarming. Suddenly there are masses of mayflies and caddis, a myriad midges, gnats and stoneflies. Once again we see nature's possibilities in an almost unbelievable way. Strangely enough, the first thing I think of is falling snow. Evenings and nights like this aren't at all usual, even if there's always a chance. But now the moment we've longed for is here. Now's the time for heroics and rapture. We experience a magical grayling night and start to realise that even the char in the mountains should be ready for action. The air's completely filled with treats, an assertion that spurs us on to wander further in the light northern night, in the hope of meeting the mountain's most colourful but shyest creation, the mythical Arctic char.
Häng upp ditt väst så ser vi vart vi ska.
To the char lake, my friend.
Jajamän.
Time to get one.
Kan du gena här?
After a few hours of effort in the mountain woodlands, we finally reach the spot we've sweated for. The insect life is still quite good, even if the cooler night temperatures have doubtless reduced activity somewhat. We are, to say the least, very excited as we prepare our rods and select our flies. Char and the choice of fly is always a delicate problem. The fly should always be very small, even if this doesn't quite agree with what's on the current menu.
He's taken. No.
At the very first cast, Palle feels a pull at the fly, which raises our pulses at once. When we carefully peep out from behind the bushes, we see them. Fabulous fish that seem to have come unexpectedly from nowhere.
There's one out there.
Can you see it?
Yes, there's a few here. His back's as wide as a barn door.
Suddenly, we see a really big char, and our excitement reaches boiling point.
He's going for it.
Yes. Rune.
There's another one over there.
Ja, det står fler. Just där. Oj, jag har lite för tajt. De brukar dra iväg på lite åka.
Vad var det du satte på för någonting?
Jag band upp en flymfliknande historia.
In the end, Palle gets the fish to take a version of the classic partridge in orange.
Typ som en partridge in orange.
Now we feel the pulse of humility in our heads. The big moment has arrived.
Oj.
When I see the char for the first time, I can hardly believe my eyes. Am I dreaming? Such a broad back, such a red stomach, such fine fins. I now feel blessed to be a passive but interested bystander, an observer of an unwritten page of history.
Den är 50.
55 to 56 centimeters.
Fantastiskt.
Ja, fy fan vilka fiskar.
These fish, the size of them. This was really a good evening.
Really excellent. And now the sun's coming up.
What a fantastic fish.
Helt otrolig.
Incredible.
Helt otrolig.
And we've seen a few more like them. I had one moving just under my fly. I nearly had a heart attack.
And I had one that broke my leader.
Yes, you did.
Du,
Look, they're starting to rise again. It's hard to leave them.
We'll just have to come back. Now, to the boat.
My thoughts are spinning as we head back to the boat. I have a feeling of enormous gratitude to be allowed once again to fish in wonderful Kaitum together with a friend. Just amazing that we can wade in the cleanest water you can imagine, in a river still wild, free and untouched. And here there are no concrete monuments to a mad, selfish world. Here the majestic mountains still reign.